Hey Luis, good morning.
Good morning.
Give a few more minutes, we'll get started.
For sure.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
While folks are trickling in, the next week is our club offsite. So if any of you have not registered, please go make sure you register for next week's offsite. And since next week offsite is full day, so we are not going to have Gen AI session next week, and it is we will have like the last our Gen AI session is going to be the following week. Okay. Yeah, we are getting a lot of industry prominent speakers. Make sure you enroll, so don't miss it.
Srinivas, why don't you show the flyer or give me the sharing permission? I have the flyer ready with me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You want to share, Srinath? So I gave the permissions.
So this is the one that Srinivas was referring to. So we have a few prominent speakers, both from large corporations as well as startups. Sandeep Agarwal, who's the director of engineering in Uber, is going to talk about how AI is being implemented in some parts of Uber. And similarly, there is a company by name Supra. The CTO of that company would be talking about the architecture. So all in all, this is going to be a really good event, especially for this group. It makes utmost sense. If you have not registered, please feel free to register, and we'll be sharing this in the WhatsApp group.
Thanks, Srinath. All right, we are at 8:05. Luis, over to you.
Sure. Let me just share my screen. All right. Hi, everyone. I know I think it's been 2 weeks now since we last discussed. So, and I guess people are still waking up from from the class. So as people trickle in, we can continue from there. But yeah, just to give you guys a quick jog in memory of what we discussed last week. We were looking at what would happen. We were doing a comparison of what's the difference between really operating and using an API versus running locally. Um, and I think we came to the conclusion that if you're running something very small, and that doesn't have to be enterprise grade, it's great to run something locally, right? You can use a smaller model, deploy it, and you won't be able to use it. But if you're looking to deploy a production grade LLM, just like an API would in terms of smartness, things like that, it does require significant investment in your hardware capability in your enterprise to be able to run something like this. This is why people opt to do cloud services. This is why there's companies like Snowflake, Databricks, things like that, that are able to compute large amounts of data and be able to share these services. Same thing with AWS and Azure. So this is why they host these large things in that way, and they share the services that way as well, right? This is why people opt into these cloud providers and go from there. So that was something that we discussed last week, and what really would be the total cost of investment for hosting a live LLM on your local enterprise settings, and what would it cost to run monthly. If we looked at different cases of what the total CapEx and OpEx would be, and in terms of getting that all that numbers in. So now that we did a quick comparison of what really what these models do, we can truly see that the APIs generally do have an advantage in terms of low cost effort at the beginning. And again, we looked at different ways of the APIs, right? There's pay per token, which is your typical, you pay for what questions you come out. And there's something called throughput, which is opens a channel which you're paying like bulkly for. It doesn't matter if you're using it or not, right? And we talked about how each ones have different and have each one has different pros and cons for each, right? And when you're looking at something that's production graded, we know that's going to be public facing or it's going to have tons of users to use it. It's definitely better to use a throughput output because you definitely want low quality or low speed, or you're trying to provide a great customer service on your chatbot. And if it's public facing and people could write reviews like, oh no, I went to the Expedia website and I asked a question about this and getting a response back after 10 seconds. Unbelievable. You definitely don't want to create those experiences for in terms of your production grade, right? So these are the things that again I'm bringing this in because this needs to be a business mindset. Yes, it's technical, yes, it's stuff like that, but these are the things that really separate the cost, right? The cost of running throughput, the cost of running locally, the cost of running these things, and this is a business course. When you're running these production grade LLMs, you need to think about all these different costs as it comes to production, and you still shouldn't just rely on whoever's building it to tell you everything. This sort of needs to be thought about during the plan and how it's going to be evolving. And again, this will show your maturity of understanding how really to run LLM models in a production grade environment, because everyone can run POCs. That's fine. Anyone can go on a computer right now and download a repo and run it and say, hey, I'm done this. But very few, if you start digging into deeper questions of have you run something in production, where is it in running in production, how many users are you using, what was the query per seconds, what are some errors of running into production. This is where a lot of people will fall apart because they haven't dealt with lots of volume, they haven't dealt with latency, they haven't dealt with load and balancing. And this is where again the point of this course was to really help you get to that upper level set of, okay, but when you're launching your RAG product, have you thought of throughput versus pay per token? Have you done your valuations? Have you done this is that, right? So it's really to open your mind, and when you submit and create proposals for this, what are you thinking about and how you can really take it to the next level? So again, that's what we just talked about right now. When is it okay to switch to enterprise versus cost computing? So again, I'll leave these slides. Again, you always have access to them. So you can do your own comparison when it makes sense versus when it doesn't make sense, and when is it cheaper to use it and when it's not cheaper to use it. And again, very few times are you going to see over 500 million tokens a month. I doubt you're going to be running that volume unless you have like a team of like high school students that you decided to open up and give them free ChatGPT instances access, and you'll definitely see that that usage will go up. But very few you'll see this 500 million tokens a month. That means you have amazing adoption and on your website, right? And very few people have that amazing adoption site. But again, I just showed you the cost of when it's cheaper to run Cloud API versus enterprise. So the second part of then understanding and creating your business plan and your proposals is that not only you have to think about your which LLMs you're using, the cost, the area where it's going to be. You also need to think about your team that's going to be supporting this, and what is the team that should be supporting your LLM initiative, AI initiative, etc. So when you think of this, again, you need to think of it in terms of running your own business, like in terms of running like a software product as well, right? So you definitely need sort of a PM to sort of guide and help the project go through in terms of planning, developing this right. Could be a PM or a DM, like your delivery manager that works closely with the team to ensure that, again, it's easy for a data scientist or an AI engineer to really get lost in terms of, okay, I need to develop this, but they need someone on the ground, helps them keep on cadence and things like that, right? So first, when you start thinking about this, you need to start thinking about, okay, we need to have a PM, DM on this, right? I didn't put this one here, but again, if you're looking to make this more of a real enterprise solution, you definitely need a product owner as well, right? One who's really thinking about the different releases. So let's say you create a RAG tool, right? You create a RAG that goes into your documents and pull things out. But now you're getting requests saying, well, I want to connect to the internet as well, or I wanted to do to save my conversation histories on the left side and make it better, or I wanted to do this, right? And they'll do more requests. You definitely need that product owner to stop, think about, and say, "Hey, no, let's look at this as like a third release." Or I need to think about this is it really providing real value, right? That product owner role needs to be very important. And I think we talked about the evolution of AI roles, and as hard as an AI architect, AI engineers, it needs to have product mindset. It's not just enough to build an AI product. You need to have that. You need to have a product owner mindset any single time that you build these things out. And again, that goes back to building production grade things is that as you get to build and build and build as people who are in software development, understanding that you can make something and make it and launch something out, and you can always have something to do better. You could in your backlog will never stop because it's always an enhancement here. We've got a new software here. We got a new upgrade on this side. It's constant upgrades, right? And constant evolution of it. So it doesn't stop. So how do you really differentiate when to continue, start building things out? And again, this is the mindset of the product owner. The product owner needs to think about where this product is going and how it's going to keep evolving. And this is what's really important when you start thinking about these projects. Now, in terms of what's really important as well before we go to the technical team is having a business mean. As much as you are a software developer, AI engineer, data scientist, project manager, these individuals have focused solely on technical areas. But if there's someone, for example, someone pulling in from legal, or someone working from procurement, or someone working in sales, or someone working at call centers, they don't have ground vision of what's happening in these areas. They don't know what are the most common problems or situations, and they don't know as they build this out that's really solving the issues. So before you go in and start thinking about on your technical team, who from the business and from what product you're building from that you need to pull in to really give them that extra insight. And this is what really makes or breaks a product is really how involved the business section is in the product. So let's say you're building something for IT and you're building something about logs, right? And you need to say, when I see some errors in the logs, it needs to be pulled out. You grab a couple of data scientists, you throw some people in it, and you're like, okay, this is the issue. We need to extract logs, and we need to look at when there's an error. They go in, they build it, they release it. People are using it like, well, this isn't giving me value. Like it's not showing me exactly the time. It's not showing me the last 3 or 4 that I need to look at. It's only giving me one. Like I can't use this. So you spent all that time building, you have 3, 4 months, $300,000, $400,000 in building a product that in the end it doesn't receive zero adoption because the users are looking at this and, well, it's not giving me the right value that I wanted. So how do you avoid this? Involving someone from the business at the beginning saying, hey, yes, it's good that you find error in the logs, but we actually need 3 or 4 of the past historical events. If you're able to provide timestamps, all this would make it really more effective for us and make it easier for us to do. And we don't have to hunt for this. And this will actually save us more time. And the data scientist or AI engineer you have won't have those insights. It won't have as much as you can build something that's really nice, if it doesn't solve a problem or it's not solving the proper issues, it's not going to be not so insightful. And yes, you could say that when you're building a project plan, if you don't have these as part of your requirements, yes, like the requirements will be very necessary to understand what would determine a project be successful. But again, those business needs bring in an extra lens that these scientists don't know what they're looking at, especially in terms of evaluations and how well their model's doing. Your requirements can't do your evals for you. You need someone with that expertise to go in and do that for you as well. So what I really advocate for when you go in these products and you create these projects is you need to have that business me always part of these conversations, no matter what product, like whatever project you're in. These need to be in there because they're the ones really on the ground pushing forward and understanding if it really provides value. And that's the whole point of creating something, right? You don't want to create something just because it's cool. You want to create something that actually provides value and actually has an end case. Now, if you're building something for your own self and you actually want to build something for like create a product for a business and you want to make a new business and you want to make everything else like based off yourself, you obviously can't have a business me at that time, right? Because you're doing your own cool product and you want to make it awesome. And this is what I'm noticing that a lot of startups, again, this is something that as you go on and people try to create startups is that they think of a cool idea and they want to launch it and things like that. But again, if there's nothing to solve and you're not providing extra value and you're not providing the necessary the people would use your product, then again, most companies fail for this, right? Most companies, startups don't pass the go after that because they fail to find a solution for something that people have or create a solution that already exists. And it's not really differentiate yourself. So again, this business me can be in terms of starting your own product could be different, right? You don't need a business me for that. You'll definitely need reach out to customers and value propositions and understanding what do customers want and need and creating these surveys and things like that, right? You sort of have to create this me of customers and that particular product you're developing in order to understand really the landscape and if you're really truly solving a problem that people have. And right, and that's how you would sort of translate this when you're not looking in terms of business, but building your own. Okay, so to me, those are the non-technical positions that really would make the part successful. Now, to make the project successful on in terms of developing this is yes. So example, like before I get into that, there's a good article that talks about how most people in IT think AI is pretty straightforward and it's developing and it can be done really fast, right? So software developers are getting smarter and they're sort of adapting more to AI. I've seen a lot of software developers really hesitant, but they go in there and it's like, well, it seems like a rag. It seems pretty easy. Simply, I just write the code, develop it, and then that's it. So what's really a difference between a data scientist and a software developer are different things, right? They're both different domains. A software developer will write test cases, write the code, be able to be very proficient in writing production codes, be able to develop the things that they need and do the proper cycles that way. But the difference between that and a data scientist's job is a little bit more than just simply writing code and understanding it and making perfect, like and making it that way. It's about experiments and developing these experiments through multiple runs, and from these experiments, deduct which one actually provides real business value. So going back to machine learning and creating machine learning models, these data scientists are more about designing an art. So example, yes, it's to create 15 features extra on your data sets, but then these data scientists need to think about, okay, when I run my evaluations, it's giving me 80%, 86% accuracy. But what if I decide to do something a little bit more different and I decide to add 80 values or decide this or decide that again? Or I change the thresholds on my model evaluations and things like that. So a data scientist is more of experimentations and iterations on experiments, using data science techniques, understanding different mathematical formulas, being able to really understand how to break that part out versus typical software development. So the data scientist has a little bit more in terms of experience using different experimentations. Now there are software developers that have this curiosity as well, and we call those unicorns in the sense that they're really great at machine learning and also great at software development. But if you have both of them, that's great. If you have one of those unicorns, that's awesome. So really that's the difference between having a data science software developer. Software developer will do things exactly like how you scope them, requirements, things like that. And a software developer can be pushed into this team as well. It doesn't have strictly have to be a data scientist, but just be aware that if you have a software developer developing these type of products on your team, make sure they understand that it needs to have experimentations. And it's not like you can write like a unit test as most software developers are used to and say, okay, I wrote a unit test. I did my prompt, it comes out fine, and that should be it. And then they leave it be. You should understand that LLM models do hallucinate. You can't just write a unit test and think it's going to be the same always. There is going to be a chance that your model will hallucinate, won't give you the same output every time. So you can't really write a unit test on an LLM because, again, it's very unpredictable reports coming out of it. So that's why, in terms of development, you always need someone who understands that it's more of experimenting, redeveloping iterations rather than running unit test cases to really solidify your project. Now, there's two different names here, AI engineer, AI architect. So what's really the difference? The AI architect will understand your landscape, right? So if you are on Azure, if you're on AWS, if you're on Databricks, we're using Snowflake, etc. This person should have experience understanding what are the top connectors, where's the data being loaded, how's the pipelines being done, and develop a solution and plan out a solution based off the cloud that you're on, right? Or if it's local that you're running on as well, look for efficient ways to get the best graphics cards, understand the environments, and understand what are the best ways to develop this. So the AI architect is mostly concerned about how to optimize the deployment on the cloud or local infrastructure and to develop the solution that will best bring your AI product to life. So they're the ones that are creating the blueprints. They're the ones thinking about how that's going to be done in terms of where it's going to be done. Meanwhile, an AI engineer goes deeper into it, right? So now he understands that, okay, I need to be running on this platform, I'll be running on this, I'll be running on that, and it understands that, that's fine. AI engineer will now think about the technology that needs to be used. So the AI engineer would say, okay, let's use LangChain for this because right now, what I'm noticing right now, I'm noticing from different customers is that Microsoft is pushing a lot of their products are out and in terms of trying to make things in. So one of their biggest things they're pushing out right now is a semantic kernel. Semantic kernel's been out since like 2017, 2018, before the huge AI boom coming in. They just said it's their own types of chain. It's sort of like LangChain where you can chain things together. And then Microsoft saying this is the way to go. This is what this is what we produce. This is things where we need to go. So if you're going to run things on Microsoft, you need to be using semantic kernel to be training in your LLMs. You need to be using semantic kernel to be running this. You need to be so again, they're the ones pushing for that, right? The AI engineer needs to step back and look at this and say, well, what is it? What is you trying to do? I want to build a SQL agent that does text to SQL. Okay, cool. All right, so let's see how well semantic kernel does this. Oh, it looks like semantic kernel doesn't have pre-built doesn't have any pre-built functions for text to SQLs. It doesn't have any pre-built functions for agents. It doesn't have pre-built functions for this. So if you want me to employ and deploy something in semantic kernel, I'll have to create custom wrappers, custom codes, custom this for this to work. Is this something you want to do? Or I have something called LangChain, which is is another package that already has these nodes already in place. It already has a text to SQL code. It already has multi-agent architecture built in. I simply just have to call the functions. This will push in the speed. So are you looking to do more of a speed build, or are you okay creating custom functions as long as it connects directly to Microsoft? Right? So the AI engineer is more thinking about the technologies being used and being pushed in, rather than looking at the whole solution and blueprint. Now, there's some times where the AI architect and the AI engineer have to be the same person, simply due to cost, and the AI architect can go down deeper to that level. But usually, if there's a chance to have an AI engineer that's thinking about these things, it's best to have one. Again, the AI architect doesn't have to be for the whole time. like when you're creating your staffing development, the AI architect can only be there probably for the first half to make sure that it's developed, and then leave the rest of the AI engineer to really bring it home and finish it off, right? The AI engineer will then assign to the data scientist, hey, this is what we're gonna be using LangChain for this development, we'll be doing this to that, and then we'll help and then guide the data scientist as he builds out the frameworks, that he's doing the right evaluations, ensuring that the right technology is being used, make sure it's deploying the right LLMs, etc. And that's sort of how you build out your interdisciplinary teams. Now, you can obviously, the team has to grow if you're having multiple different projects, or if you want to now include a front end, if you have to build a front end out to this, you need, or if you're building out custom pipelines of data coming in, you need DevOps, etc. As you go on and think about what you want to do, they'll be require different individuals. But if you were to just develop an AI product and not worry about anything else, this would sort of be your core team that I would always have. It's sort of like a little Avengers assemble thing of who would be best to sort of run a sort of project and have this coming in. But this is sort of the team that you would sort of need to develop and pitch as you want to say, hey, I need to develop, I want to develop an AI RAG. Here's the individuals that I would want and need to do this. All right, so let me check any questions. So how do you go and develop these costs, and how do you determine the costing for this, right? So I have here sort of like a staffing allocation. So when you think of this and you're like, okay, I'm going to need an ML engineer, I'm going to need an architect, I need a project manager. Do I really need them full time? If it's full time, it's usually a 1. If you're going to use them half the time, then it's like 0.5. If you're going to use a SME only certain times you need to be pulled in, it could be a quarter. And then you would say, okay, what's the total team size? And how would that be? So why do you need to do this, right? So example, if I'm looking at a 6-week POC, you go back and say, okay, what kind of AI data scientist I'm going to be using for this? It's going to be junior, mid-level, senior level, right? You can then look at this and say, if I go for a junior one and I can convert this to hourly, then I say, okay, converting hourly times the 6-week POC, I can get this type of cost coming in. Or if I want a mid-level one, looking at what's that cost going to be. And again, this is very important when you start thinking about in a business case and you say, hey, I want to build something fast and I want to build something accurate. Then you don't really want to have sort of juniors in your project, because again, if a junior is coming in and building on a 6 POC, yes, it could be way cheaper, but it could also have more bugs. It could take longer to debug, could be long, it could take you a few more things to figure out and fix, and could take longer than 6 weeks, right? With a junior, it could take them maybe have a learning curve that they need to go over. They never used LangChain, or never heard the word semantic kernel, or never used a Microsoft environment before. So it takes them a little bit of like a ramp time, right? And this could be really critical when you're thinking about launching something in 6 weeks, that you don't really have that ramp time to think of. You need someone with experience, and you need to be having someone ready to go. So just to think about that as well as you create the staffing allocations and saying, okay, what's a timeline? What's a time frame? Is it really worth it to bring a junior versus a senior, etc. So you can then look at this, multiply it by the salaries in order to really understand what is going on in terms of what these people are making, what's the cost to create a 6-week POC, what's the cost of 12-week MVP, etc. So if someone's like, well, I need something really high level, like I don't want to care about 6 weeks. Like, well, what would it cost me to do each one? So again, if you were to look at, okay, the average monthly salaries for each of them is 67,000. I'm doing a 6-week POC, 67,000 plus, let's say 2 weeks of that, let's bring it to 80,000. Then you would say, okay, average could be 80,000 for a 6-week POC because you're doing 3 times. But then you could read a 12-week MVP, then you multiply that by 2, and so okay, it could be 160,000. Your pilot be this, and this, right? Again, you really want to give your stakeholder a true understanding of what the staffing cost is going to be, because again, this is very critical when you want to launch a product, because again, if you're building something from scratch and you're having a team that builds the customization things, this is where you need to think about and focus on. So how do you really mitigate this cost and lower the cost? Let's say you use AWS. AWS already has, let's say, a RAG functionality built in. It doesn't cost extra on your licensing. All you have to do is upload your documents to an S3 bucket and then use that RAG. Then you don't need a data scientist to be building out your RAG for you, right? Maybe you have one ML engineer to verify and double check everything. And you don't need an AI architect because you already know you're using everything on AWS. And you just need a project manager to run that as well. Then you can really start cutting down your cost, right? Because you're already having something that's already pre-built. But now, if you want to build something custom, and which most enterprise want to do, because again, their data is very important for them, and it's not as a simple, easy of if I just upload everything to a RAG and that's it. Like we know sometimes there's nuances, there's slangs, there's things that you need to be thinking about when you do an enterprise solution. That sometimes these out of the box solutions don't cut it out, don't cut like they provide some value, but they're not getting the most value out. So this is what people tend to create their own AI products because again, the backends are there, right? It's simply just how you want to launch it, how to roll it out, etc. And this is something that an AI architecture could help you out and develop. So here's some again going back to the cost summary. When you look at this, you sort of look at each one and say, okay, if I were to pull this people in based off the last chart, here's the total phase cost from this. If and then I was to do 12 weeks, here's the total cost of this, 16 weeks, 26 weeks in total, right? As you can see here that the totals will increase as you are using these things, as you're using these people out. You might say, whoa, that's a lot, right? But again, think about this way. If you have 6 software developers working on your team and you pull 3 software developers out from your team cycle to build a RAG and say this is going to cost us less if we just pull from our own team. You need to look at this way. Software, let's say it's a senior, you pulled out 3 senior software developers and a mid-level software developer. Let's say a senior software developer is making close to like 200K, just for example, on average. That means you pulled out 2 people that are making 400K, and then a junior that's making 180K, right? Divide that by the 12 to get the 1 month mark out. And you're looking at a 6 POC, just if you were using their top 2 senior developments in terms of business cost, is going to be at least over $80,000, $90,000 just from pulling up people from your team. So the business it's going to cost your business more to pull people out from the team who are very senior roles that cost more money, simply because again, you need to look at more of as in what is when you're looking at this in terms of a business perspective, where's my investment going, right? If I pull the CS software developers to build this out, that means they stop working on different products that can be more of an investment, and therefore that's the cost of their salaries that I'm missing out on just to build out this team, right? So this is where you think about the cost effectiveness. Is it really worth it to pull out these software developers at this cost and this things to develop this project? Or is it easier for me to then contract these roles or pull someone else from these different roles to develop for me that actually have more expertise, right? So again, when you're pulling out these software developers, they can build you this stuff out. But again, going back to that circle, they're not developing AI products every single day. That's not their day job. Their day job is to build out software. So again, there is that ramp up time, and there could be things that they're not aware of or packages they're unaware of because again, they're focused on different things. And then for them to research, look into it, develop, and find those errors out, it is burning those salaries costs as well. So it's not simply just, well, it's way cheaper to pull someone from my team to do this. Again, you need to think about it in the bigger picture. You need to think about this as example, a CTO or people who are looking at in terms of cost, what this cost would mean, those type of and those type of images as well, right? So this is why when you develop your business case, and again, this is what people are looking at when you develop your business case is truly the cost. What is the cost to build this? What is the cost of running these licenses? What is the cost of infrastructure? All these things are going to be very important when you build out your business case and saying, hey, This is the team I'm proposing. This is the cost it's going to take to run, and here's the true value, and here's the ROI of me doing this. So therefore, this would be a viable product, right? Like, well, what if you brought in 3 persons? What if you brought in 4 people from that team? Again, you would have to make that argument saying, okay, well, if I pull these people out, it's going to cost the business this much because I'm pulling away from working on top priorities or top projects, and their average salaries are this. So therefore, if I were to pull these out, this would cost you this much more on pulling these individuals in. So again, it's developing the right story, understanding the duration of this, right? And definitely you don't want to rush things, right? I've seen lots of times where lots of companies come in and say, hey, I want to build a RAG in 6 weeks that's production ready. Well, do you have your data? Is your data cleaned? Is the PDFs that you're using have already been structured into tables? Have they been doing this? Have they like, no, it's not. We have to build everything from scratch, right? So the time that it takes to put someone on a project team, then to look at, to develop, to clean up your data sets, to fix this up, and then have something that's developed on a POC stage, then move to MVP, then move to develop to the full production grade area within 6 weeks. You're building something from scratch is is nearly impossible. You need to have something brought in already that's sort of production grade ready, and then just have the team connect to it within 6 weeks. So again, you need to really think about what's really possible. Yes, you can have speed, but you lose quality, right? So the longer the duration, the more time you can build things out, the better quality that's going to come from this. But if you try to rush and rush and rush and rush, remember you are cutting corners, you're cutting down evaluations, you're cutting in ramp up time, etc. when you do this as well. So really think about when you want to say, hey, I want to build this product out. What's my POC stage going to be? What's my MVP stage going to be? What is the production going to be like? What's the whole total rollout going to be like that, right? So again, think about it. And I give you here a quick example of what the total phase cost would look like. What does that look? What does the weekly burn rate look like for each of these individuals to create this product, and what the duration is? So again, I left this up here because again, remember in next week, not this week, but next following week, you'll be given business cases and what you need to think about who do you want to bring in and what's the total cost going to be looking at this, right? So please use these slides to as an example of what the total cost should be when you're thinking about developing your own business plans. And as we talk about next week, on the following week, is that you'll be sort of be creating presentations of what business cases you'll be looking at, how you want to be presenting it, what's the tooling it's going to cost, what's the people you want to bring in, things like that. Really think about it, and this is why I want to create that project for next week, because it's really easy to look at this and like, okay, well, I'll think about that way. No, I really want you to sit down and think about how you want to build out your own proposal, and in terms of how that looks like. So I'll quickly go through some of these. Again, the part, like I said before, is an AR architect will look at this and say, okay, if you want to build a RAG out, what platforms are you using, right? What cost effectiveness are you going on? What's the global accessibility? If you're using this in US, but then you want to go to Europe, you need to be very careful, right? Because if you're collecting information from users in your AI product, we know in Europe there's something called GDPR, right? So there's privacy acts that you need to think about, and also different privacy acts that doesn't let you collect information for certain ways. So I know Google got
Which,
sued recently from Europe for not for collecting information they shouldn't be doing, so because they weren't following the GDPR Act in Europe. So when you go think about global accessibility, your AR architect needs to be looking at this in terms of where your information is going, who the public site's going to, and ensuring that it's staying up to all the rules and regulations.
hey, Lewis,
If
I
you're
have a
doing
question on the
on-premise, go
Lewis,
ahead.
I had
Yeah.
a question on the previous thing. I mean, so basically, one of the challenges, right, on your previous slide has been, right, typically when we on, yeah, one of the challenges, right, has been is whenever we talk about implementing, as much as there's support and saying that there is infinite possibilities with AI, right? That's at least what the thing has been sold right now. A lot of management, senior execs believe, yes, we need to invest it and we want to do, but of course they're going to ask, hey, what is the value it's going to bring us, right? So, so there is a technical team, there's business team. It gets very difficult to quantify that. So the difficulty that is there is it's it's a promising, it's a very like large promising world it is, but to quantify, okay, this is the cost and this is the business benefit and how it gets used, it it's getting really hard to do that. Like, is there a, I mean, I'm thinking pivoting towards, hey, this is research, right? Any money, dollars we need to invest into research, and the outcome could be something we don't expect, or I mean, it could be great or it could be not. Do you think that kind of a conversation would help set it? Because going and figuring out each of these things, marking the T's, building a model, because you can't pull this 12-month, right? If I try to bring somebody for 12 months, at the end of it, if it's going to fail or not, or go past, will it get adopted? It will be like any other product or a startup, if you will. It's going to be very hard. Now we say we'll go build out MVP. So for MVP, again, you need to get the key guys. If you do outsourcing, they won't have anything. You need to babysit them, tell them what exactly it's need, because they're external. They do not understand the business. They don't understand our models, how we run our business, none of those things, right? You need to educate them. You're still pulling out people. The cost is very high. If you try to do what the management is expecting quickly, you need to do. You need to prove this makes sense so that I can invest you for 12 months, right? So in that juncture, any thoughts, comments?
Yep, and that's a really great question, Sunil, and thanks for reminding me of that. So this is something very typical that most companies want to say, okay, I want to prove me that AI will do something. I don't want to invest anything more into it. You need to show that proof of concept. So this is what POCs are made for. It's called fail cheap, like test quickly, fail cheap. So when you're talking with those managements, okay, so how about this? We built out a 6-week POC on the product that we have. From this POC, we can really determine what kind of value, what gains we're getting from a 6-week POC. We're going to be bringing this type of people in. We'll do it quickly, and we'll really see if the look that we're looking at is really possible, right? The task that we're looking at is possible, and it really can be solved with AI. And if within that 6 weeks, we'll present to you, we'll do the demos, and we'll show you if it really provides value or not. And this is where again, in that 6 week, in your POC, it could be 6 weeks, could be 4 weeks, could be 8 weeks. Again, it really depends on how complex your POC is. That's your selling point, right? Before you start thinking about MVP, before you think about pilot, before anything like that, if you're still looking for buy-in, you first always sell just, hey, let me just try a quick POC. It's going to take a short amount of time. It's going to be short, and if we find any value after this, then we'll continue working in the other stages and looking for that investment. So when you think about selling your POC, again, trying to figure out what's going to provide the most value and if it's really worth developing what you're looking to develop. And most senior managements won't have any issues pushing up POCs because again, it's not that expensive, right? It's not going to cost 200,000 or 300,000 to develop a POC. It's something that's quick. That could be, if something fails, then you failed it, you tried it, and you implemented it. You're not losing a huge cost of money of hiring someone for over a year to do something like you said it could fail, right? So again, when you're selling this out, like, hey, and it's very hard. Right now, everyone wants to try AI, right? Everyone wants to push AI through the product. So like, hey, let me do an AI POC. It's gonna take 6 weeks. These are the people I want to bring in. After the 6 weeks, it shows if we can prove that we're bringing in this ROI by developing this, by saving time from these individuals or providing efficiency in this. Do you think I want a go, no go decision after the POC is done? So again, when you're selling and you're pitching this out to people who are still requiring buy-in or understanding, well, if it's really not feasible or not, that's sort of the discussions you need to have. Like, hey, I need a 6 weeks POC. This is the team I'm going to bring in. This is the cost I'm going to bring in. This is the expected ROI. And you're like, well, what's the ROI? And the ROI is a different conversation because the ROI could be many different things. So one is efficiency, right? Let's say it takes your team now 30% less time to do something now because it's more accessible in your fingerprints, right? And then you then have to estimate who's the users of doing this. And then what's the average cost of the salaries times this hours per, and then multiply that by 30%, just understand what's the true ROI of that. Or if this is going to replace, your POC is going to replace a headcount in the sense that, well, without this, I can with using AI, it's not going to answer these type of questions. So therefore, we don't need this admin position answering those questions. We can move the admin position somewhere else and just have the AI take this position here, and be able to answer those type of questions. So therefore, your ROI is this, right? I don't know the use case that you're thinking about, but again, when you develop the ROI, you need to think about is where the efficiency is happening. And sometimes it's not the first year that the ROI will come in, right? We know sometimes it could be the second or third year. The first year is the investment minus the cost of running this, right? So it's going to cost you this much to build it out. Really the cost savings don't really happen because you already invested so much money. Now, the second year, you'll see the investment coming in. Third year, you see the investment coming in through as you look at this, right? So you can't just look at it as it's immediate cost reduction because there was a cost to build that out. So again, when you look at this, you sort of have sort of the story you sort of have to build out.
I think thank you. You kind of pointed the right point. Just to add to it, right? I think the struggle has been like in a lot of cases it turns out to be to build an ROI. We just say, okay, number of people it can replace, and that we start multiply with the salary, and that's what is the present. In a lot of cases, they are not well received. A lot of people have objections saying that, hey, what you're bringing in a technology and you're going to displace people, you're showing value and all of that, right? In our case, it's not going to be only people, it's about improving business processes and making better decisions so that the net business revenue that we generate would improve than what we can do now, right? And that to prove is very difficult. I think the important point you brought up is, hey, everything we can't do it in MVP over a period of time. We gotta have trust technology and build it over time. I think that's a good perspective which we need to bring to the management. Thank you.
Yep, and the last thing I would add to that is you would probably need someone to help out, like you would probably BA to figure out what are the efficiencies, right? A BA could help really understand if you were to build something out like this, what's the efficiency in terms of is it hours less researching something, researching, going through old reports, take someone 3 or half a day to look at a report to really make a tough decision that could be done in 20 minutes. That could be that cost savings in terms of pulling that information out. That BA could help you understand more about in terms of making decisions, how really it brings more information than a typical 2-3 day search would look, right? So again, those are just different ways of looking at it to really calculate what could be a really good ROI for that.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go back here for a second. Makes me jump. So again, this is what the AI architect would look like in terms of where it is, where's the cloud, it's going to be on premise, what kind of GPUs, storage sessions, etc., right? And the data management tools are coming in. So when you look at this in AR, and more of an AR architect will be looking at this stack, right? And trying to develop what's the best way to build on your stack. And there's different ways of looking at it, right? So there's the infrastructure, what kind of models will be using it, what vector database, if you're using RAG, where would it be hosted on? Are you going to be using LangChain? Are you going to be where's the front end? Is it going to be built in using Vercel? Is it going to be using React? Is it going to be different things? And do you need to fine tune a model for your options, or are you going to use a base one just using prompt engineering, right? So they look at really understanding of where things are going to be hosted, thinking about your stack, how it's going to look like. And again, this is something when you're building out your business case and things like that, if you don't have access to RE Architect, but this will give you a good understanding of really go through the steps. Do I have this hardware? Do I have the foundation models? Do I have the databases? Yes or no? Like this could help you even create your business case. We don't have databases. We don't have a place to use LLMs, right? So when you start building your requirements in your business case, that what you would need to do in order to make your project successful. So in implementing AI, there is something called an AI project lifecycle. And again, this is something where we see a lot of software development is going now in terms of the agile methodology, and where you build something, you iterate, you build something, you iterate, and you sort of build that iteration out. And same thing with AI, there has to be a design phase, there has to be an automation phase, and there has to be API stage as well. So This is something that we need to be looking at. It's a good question from Swami. Are companies still doing stuff on site instead of hosting in the cloud? So from my experience, I would say 5% companies have requested on-site LLMs. This is due to privacy issues. They're scared that their data will be stolen from OpenAI or from other areas. So they don't want it to be leaving their server. So they don't want anyone to be able to hack an API and pull information from there as well. With most people, they have like very low risk tolerance. So they would rather deploy something locally that sort of in a private environment that doesn't leave their enterprise and use out maybe a smaller LLM to do their work for them. So AI project cycle is to develop models, prepare production, and deploy to test environment, right? And you start deploying, you need to validate. If something's off, go back and iterate. Maybe it's use a different model, and then you prepare that model and you test it and you validate. So again, it's part of the iteration, right? Once it's not even then when you sort of do your validation, you get to a point that you like, you deploy to production. But again, it's not done yet. You still need to monitor. And if something goes off in production, you need to go back and think about, okay, what models did I use? How did I prepare it? How do I validate and deploy to production, right? So this is sort of, again, your AI project lifecycle when you sort of look at generate ideas and prioritize and how you're going to prioritize your projects. So this is how AI lifecycle works in terms of iterative methodologies, integrate AI with existing systems, ensuring data privacy and security, addressing any ethical considerations. Like I said before, be careful with GDPR, different areas of the global area that you're working in. I think Sunil talked about this one, overcoming resistance to change. Why, if I develop this, what value will it bring to me, right? So you need to prove that value of happening. Once the value is sort of proven, then you can start to look at how can things be automated or how can involve humans in the loop to make it more efficient. Develop the adoption, which is really important. Addressing the cost and overcoming any technical limitations. If you don't have something in your own tech stack, how can you do that, right? So, again, and the most important part, I think, is number 9, managing expectations. Right now, LLMs are not solving world hunger right now. They're not solving cancers. They're not doing things right now like that type of, in terms of how intelligent they are. So just picture when you run and you sell these LLMs that you're not overselling them, that they can solve everything for you, right? There are going to be some issues and some hiccups as you go through this. So the most important part of this is how to measure success and iteration. So this is something, again, I'll bring up Sunil's name as he goes through this because it's a good example of how do you really prove that your model is successful. And again, the most important part of developing this proposal is what is your KPIs, right? So how are you going to say, okay, my model is doing good because of this? What are the KPIs that you should be looking for? So one of them obviously is making sure that your project is running on time. As you can see, the cost is very effective. You don't want your AI project to be running red at any time. Running red, for those who are running, it's over time and it's costing your company more money to develop. I mean, you think about what is the ROI, what is the financial benefits, right? So if you can't really determine the ROI of it right at the beginning, you need to think about what is the impact on the business processes. So going back to what Sunil was saying, can we find anything about efficiencies and anything about customer satisfaction, right? So let's say that you are trying to implement a chatbot and you have 5 people, 10 people manning a chat conversation flows that are live every single year. Now, for you to run an LLM, host it, and answer questions, and it's really smart, and it costs the same or maybe just a little bit less than having 10 live agents, then there really isn't an ROI case, right? Because you're not really making money or saving the company money by doing it. But if we see that customer satisfaction will then increase because your chatbot is 24/7 now, it's able to answer some maybe more complex questions, then you're proving more value to the AI tool because now it's able to do things that your previous area couldn't do, right? And that's the impact on business processes versus an ROI in terms of you may be reducing the same cost, but you are improving business processes by increasing efficiencies of having that chatbot open 24/7 and be able to answer more complex questions that couldn't be done before. So there's more than just one way to really look at really the positivity of using this. So it's always continuous improvement. Make sure you look at it regularly, adapt strategies, and process automation. Okay, the last slide, I think, for this part that we're finishing up from week 3 and week 4 is the AI capability maturity model. This is how you can really determine how mature your company is in terms of where it is in terms of where it is in terms of AI projects. So if you're really doing only AI, if you only see those individual products being sent out in your team or in your enterprise, saying this team's doing this team's doing this individual is doing this, then you're really at a level 1 in terms of maturity of AI. But if you're looking at team 2 and say your team like, hey, we developed a RAG, can 3 or 4 individuals from the team help build this RAG out? And we'll use this as a blueprint and develop another RAG using this part. Then you're sort of level 2, because now you're thinking about in terms of teams, developing these different parts out and using reusable blueprints. 3 is a program. Let's say you now have a center of excellence of AI in your company that say, hey, we want to do AI in our business, in our team. What can we do? Oh, we have an AI program through our center of excellence that says if we want to build a RAG, you first create a request with them. They'll come do an analysis, help us to optimize it, and you can use the program to really speed up as they have a blueprint. They know exactly how to do it for us, etc. So your team, then your company is sort of a third level maturity level, because now it's thinking more than just an individual level. It's building out that center of excellence and having requests coming in that's able to optimize and do things that as well. The next maturity level is if you actually have a portfolio of enterprise AI systems. So not only that you have a COE, let's say, okay, I want to build a RAG out. Okay, cool. We go and look at our portfolio that we have in our enterprise and say we want to use a talk to your data chatbot. You click on it and then boom, you just add the data that you want and you're good to go, right? And you don't have to worry about looking at the program, asking requests, things like that. It's already enterprise grade ready. It's already good to go, and you're having things like that as well. And the next, it's optimized is enterprise. So again, not only a portfolio, now this is sort of bring from the top down. Your company already has these portfolios in place that's always constantly being optimized, and it's going from there, right? So again, you can quickly determine from yourself and understanding how your company is working at in terms of where it is in terms of the maturity level. But it's really to execute and manage all AI initiatives and sort of have things that are really accessible and easy and make it really easy for you as you go through the maturity levels. And we know that as we go on and AI keeps evolving, you need to be looking at how can you really make this really more mature and make this more efficient for each one of you. And that's really what companies should be doing. Okay, so we have finished week 3 and week 4 material. So we will start now week 5. I'm going to take a quick 5-minute break. So it's going to be at the 9:05 hour, and then we'll come back and we'll look at week 5 material from here. All right, everyone, we are back. Okay, let me just pull up week 5. On the screen. Okay, awesome. So we are April 26th. So this is sort of what the final class before we do presentation is. And I think we've talked about many different things in this course that hopefully will help you understand how to implement AI in the business in the workplace, understanding how to calculate cost and what it means and how these structures work. Now I'm going to bring you into how to start actually solving problems. It's really easy to say, okay, this is a nice course, this is good, but how can we really get our teeth in and develop something? So again, when we talk about what's going to be happening in 2 weeks from now, is that everyone's going to be sort of split out into 6 groups, and which we'll do some groups right here today. And we'll be solving a business problem. Each group will be assigned 5 or 6 individuals, and you'll be looking at how to solve a business problem. And this business problem will only be about 5 or 6 slides that you'll be maximum you'll be doing. Each team will only have a maximum of 10 minutes to sort of give their pitch of what they want to be doing. But the point is that it's to look at a business problem and think about how can really AI be the solution to this, and how can it really determine the costing and actually make a really great proposal. At the end, we'll look at each one and sort of learn actually how to and what these pitches and development is to really help you understand and build out that skill set and knowledge. So here's an example of one business case problem. A procurement team struggles with efficient information relevant across 200 PDFs, right? So that's over 6,000 pages that need to be analyzed. So this procurement team has information coming from their legal policies, contracts, etc., right? They need real-time access to vendor information, contracts, and policies. So they don't want to go in there and they want to go to their procurement. Looks like they don't want to go to the procurement software, look up or trying to find something that's 2020. They just want to ask something and then get the information quickly, right? To really increase their efficiencies. The current manual search process causes delays in decision making, right? It's because sometimes it may be mislabeled, it could be something wrong, could be something that a new person's trying to understand, they don't really understand. So that's sort of the business need that they're looking at. So it looks like here they want a solution. So again, this is what the company is asking for, right? So when you receive this information, you're trying to see what's a proposed solution that they're requesting. They're looking for an AI-powered RAG built on Google Cloud. So one, it's telling me one, they're looking for a RAG. Two, they wanted it built on Google Cloud. Okay. It leverages Google Vertex AI and Gemini models for NL for querying. So okay, so it looks like we're restricted here to only using Gemini models, which we're very familiar with using AI. And Vertex AI maybe is something you're not used to, but we could do a quick Google search and see how we can leverage Google Vertex AI for this. And again, I'm not expecting you guys to be an expert on cloud systems. Again, whatever you can find on Google is fine. And they want speed exactly sort of like ChatGPT, right? So, okay, so they give us some restrictions. So they want a RAG system sort of built on Google Cloud that's able to handle over 200 PDFs. It's able to have same response time, etc. So again, I think to repeat this in the technical specifications, GCP Vertex AI, 200 PDFs, 30 pages. There's a user base of 50 users and using 10 queries a day. So total of 500 total daily queries. Looking for less than 3 seconds response time, etc. Duration's 3 months. They're looking to do a 3-month project. That's fine. And they gave us some key milestones of when they want things to be done and when the time frame is. So they have expected benefits of what they're looking to do and with some cost considerations. So let's go through this proposal and how we can really propose something for that simply based off this business case that they requested. So here's an example of a business case that I developed just for this. So again, you can use this as a framework as you go build yours. how are you going to do a proposal for an AI-powered procurement knowledge assistant? Now, I labeled that simply because, again, we're looking here that procurement is looking for something that's able to extract contracts, right? So you have to really read through the context of what solution you're trying to achieve. So again, what is the overview of this? We want to propose, outline a 3-month plan. They talked about 3 months that they're looking for, and they're looking to build a RAG system, right? So that's pretty much the main points that you have to extract from your business plan to do this. So they said they actually wanted 50 users to use this every single day, right? And so we make sure that they understand that we have 50 buyers and they'll look at the 200 PDFs and they want ChatGPT class speed, which they offered at 3 seconds. And they want this all be hosted in Google Cloud using Gemini Vertex AI. So here on this slide, when you first develop your proposal, you need to extract really the main points from their huge blurb that usually comes in and what you're trying to solve and propose to, right? So this one is simply just what you grab from there. What's the main points? The next is what you really understand from this. From those main points, we want to develop an AI RAG to process about 6 million contract tokens, have sub-second response time for users' queries, and launch this in 12 weeks, right? So we are trying to really break down and what you're trying to do with this in proposal is that when you propose something like this and you look at that, you really want to show that you understand really what the business asks, and this could really help you understand or really disqualify you from in terms of your key stakeholders. For example, let's say you have a VP that says, "Hey, I have this business case, I have this business problem, solve it." And then you're doing your information, and he's like, no, wait. I never said 3 months. I said I wanted 5 months, and I wanted over 100 users. What did you get those numbers from? Or here is what you're trying to show that you actually understand what's happening, and you understand that what they're looking for, and you understand what's really being asked for, right? So you go out and understand the project requirements. Next, you talk about what is really your technical infrastructure stack, right? So they're looking for Vertex AI, as they said before. That's what they said. They want something in GCP. You choose the model. They said they wanted Gemini model, so you can say Gemini 2.0 Flash, and you can run this on cloud. Is exactly what they said. So they wanted to run for that material. So then you have to come out and think about your approach, right? Again, once we're doing RAGs, you can go back and look at the previous slides that we have and say, okay, we first need to know that Vertex AI has these embedding models. So we need an embedding model because we're doing RAGs. We need a vector storage place to store our vector storage. We need an LLM. So we know we're going to use Gemini 2.0. And if we're going to use anything, the microservice that they asked for, again, if you don't know what these are, simply just do a quick Google search and you can quickly find what ones. Again, the point of the proposal is not to really test how much of the stuff that you know. Again, this is the business course, but really is how to sort of lay out what people are looking for and be able to respond to those questions. Again, the cloud storage bucket was your vector store for the raw PDFs and process chunks, how you can do analytics, and really to secure the APIs coming out. The second thing that you need to be thinking about as you do this is create these timelines. You need to create a time frame. They gave us 3 months. So we need to sort of have a different ways of looking at the timelines. What's the discovery and solution design? Usually a rule of thumb is that whatever is your delivery timeline is usually 5 to 10%. It's usually 5% of your delivery time that should be your discovery. So you need to be looking at this and say, okay, we need time to look at what's happening, all the data, etc. There needs to be time for us to grab the PDFs, ingest it, and there needs to be time for us to look at the prototype and do it, and then actually have a front end and build out that front end, test it, and then go live, right? So again, very high level timeline. You don't need to get into details too much of it, but you need to be thinking about, can you show me that you understand what are the requirements? Can you show me that you can understand of taking out these infrastructure stacks? And can you create these high level timelines? You can do an easy way of showing this through charts like Gantt. You can show that, hey, for my timeline going back from here, if I were to put this out, and how would that look like in a Gantt chart? This would be the discovery phase. This would be the ingestion prototype. And the reason why you want to do this is that you really want to show your manager, key stakeholder, things like that you actually stopped and thought about the process, and you're actually thinking about all the different steps that you need to make that POC or to make whatever that environment that you're making for about the different project phases, and you're thinking about how it's going to be done, right? So again, when you're creating these proposals, it's to show that you understand the asks, what's required, where it's going to be done, and what are the timelines. This is now you have to sort of think of you have to put your PM hat on and think about what are the sort of deliverable and milestones that need to be done for this and what could be sort of shipped out. So again, in discovery and solution designs, you should have an architecture approved by a certain date. If you're doing PDFs, all these PDFs need to be embedded by a certain date. If you're doing prototyping, when's the first demo going to be done and created? If you're doing a front end, when is the front end going to be done? When is the testing going to be done? And when does it go live, right? So again, going back to here and looking at the different areas of what's going to be sort of completed, you create those milestone dates simply from the information you have. So again, you are looking at the ask, you're looking at that back end, you're looking at the milestones. So now you sort of have that beginning part done. You notice I'm looking at the solutioning. So again, this is a little bit more complicated. I don't expect you guys to go as deep as this. But again, I'm just saying, okay, you start off with having users sign on, a single sign on, right? So again, someone asks a question because it's legal documents. I just put that authentication in because again, you don't want anyone else from the company to go in and ask, look at legal documents. You need to have that security part, right? Although it's not requested in the ask, you need to think about this as extra, like, oh, this is actually legal information. Should there not be an authentication layer on top of this, right? So again, this is sort of reading through the box and ensuring that you are reading through the business proposals and actually thinking about the right context of what's going on. So again, goes into here, you run your API services, it queries Vertex AI to get the relevant chunks, put citations into it so they can understand where the information is coming from, and goes back to the user. So really, again, high level architecture of you going in there, authenticating, running your services, and using the model and using the front-end web app. So again, something very simple, because again, when you develop these proposals, the people who you're talking to, your VPs, your managers, your bosses, they're not going to be highly technical individuals, and you can't show very high technical information. You can't be saying, we'll be using LangChain to be using this, we'll be using this Python function to be doing this, we'll be creating custom queries. Like for them, that's the how, right? They don't want to see the how. They're more worried about the why and how, and like the how, like the why and how it's going to be delivered versus how it's going to be constructed. The trust is going to be coming into you to develop something that can be delivered. So now we go into more of a detailed architecture. Again, I'm not showing here the different Python packages, and again, I'm not asking you to do either, but should be showing at least the process of grabbing a PDF, doing some embedding generations, embedding it, and then adding it to your vector store, and then getting Gemini to answer the questions. So they can see that you understand what you're building a RAG and you know how to build RAGs, right? And how that response will look like. So again, when you go into these high level diagrams, the point is when you look at the high level of how it's going to work overall, here's the sort of back end of how we're going to be handling the PDFs and documents. And you're really trying to show that you can build this stuff out and you understand it. So again, we're finishing it up with what's the final phase of development. We'll develop the web app by this time, testing compliance will be this, and go live training will be this. So going back to what we saw in slide 3, slide 4, you need to sit down and think about what's going to take to do this, right? It's going to take an architect to come in and do solutioning. It's going to take an ML engineer or data scientist. You can use those interchangeably to own the vector pipeline and how the LLM is going to happen. You have a data engineer to really help out your data infrastructure. And because this one is asking for a front-end web app, do you need a full stack developer or not? QA, and you have a project manager to help you in communications, right? So again, you're thinking about how to really place the right people to make this job successful. Again, You can choose the individuals that you want based off the user questions, but this is just showing you an example of how do you sit down and think about of how to plan something to make this a little bit more successful from what you're asking for. And again, this sample will be sent out to everyone so they can take a quick use of it. They can take a quick glance of this and use this. And also remember, week 3 slides will also be there to help you understand how to cost this out. So one thing they asked for is what's really going to be the estimated cost of this, right? So again, we need to look at and say, okay, we're using Gemini Flash 2.0. It's about 0.03 for inputs and 0.06 for outputs, right? So you need to go back and look to what we studied before and we said, what are inputs and what are outputs? Don't worry about the matching engine nodes. We don't like I put that as extra here, but you don't have to have that. Like again, these are extra things that only people would know from Vertex AI, so don't worry about that. Vector storage, where are you going to be storing a vector store? Because they're asking for inside GCP, I simply just went to Google and just type in the cost of hosting a vector store in Google Cloud. And when I post that up and it looked at that, it gave me 0.26 per gigabyte, right? So and there's only 0.5 gigabytes. It's going to cost me about 2 cents to host vector store on GCP. And then cloud computing cost, very low. What's that going to look like per hour if we're running this out? Again, these are simply just Google searches. I'm pulling these things up and I'm not going in designing things like that. And again, any logging, monitoring. Again, I grabbed all this stuff from Google. Like I didn't go in there deeply enough, but I just want you to show that when you develop these numbers, they don't have to be as true. You can make these numbers up just as long as I show that you are understanding that that you can grab these informations, work with someone, and be able to say, hey, this is what's going to take to cost you in a month to run this RAG model, right? If you can't find the information, it's okay to put your own numbers in. Like again, don't worry about that. But the point is to say, hey, your monthly running cost is going to be 310. So you show that you're not only looking at implementation, you're showing that once you built out this business proposal to your boss or to whoever it is, that you understand that there is an implementation cost they need to be worrying about, but also the monthly cost and have they budgeted for that as well, right? So that's something for them to look at and understand and how you're costing this going in. So what's it going to cost, right? So we have a one-time build effort. So this what this is the sum of these individuals, what's of all their salaries, right, and the time it's going to take for the month. Again, remember, how do we get that cost from slide 3, right? We can say this is the average monthly cost for this. If the average monthly cost is this, times that by 3 for the AI architect role. ML engineer, use the same thing for data scientist. The cost is 3 months. Divide their salary by 12, then multiply by 3 to get that cost. So when you sum that up, you can get a monthly cost effort. And we saw the monthly operational cost. So what's the total cost? 210 plus the $310, you get that, right? So 213 is sort of the total monthly cost. So just so you know that they understand that the whole proposal will be coming from that. So what is the key performance for success? Again, you want to be showing in your proposal what you consider success for, right? So you make sure that they're asking for under 3 seconds. You can say, okay, well, we can try to do a P95 under 1.5 to make it successful. Make sure that everything that's responded is at least 85% rated as helpful. So again, make sure there's at least 80% people working on this in this area. And what's the most important part of this? Save 15 hours per buyer monthly in procurement cycle time. So that's really the ROI. So if there is 100 people and they're saving, each one saving 15 hours, right? So that's over 150 hours. And then you multiply that by that salary times the hourly rate, right? And that would really give you your total estimated cost of developing, the total ROI cost of developing this, right? And you really want to develop and keep the cost per answer at below 2.5 cents. So there's something extra again, but you don't have to worry about that last one. So when's the project going to start? We'll start off May 1st. Week 1, we'll finalize scope, look at this adjustment, and go from there. And that's it. So the proposal is very small. I think it's only probably like 10 slides maximum. Again, I put some extra parts in here. that could sort of be squished into one. But it's really to understand that what you want to be proposing when you do your questions is understanding what's going to be asked of you. What's the tech stack that you need that it's being required and asked for? How are you going to develop that timeline and what's going to be involved in that timeline? What's the milestones? What's the architecture going to be? And what's the staffing plan going to look like? Once you understand who's going to be staffed for that project, look at that cost model overview and that project investments. And that's it. So this is really what's going to be asked of you for next class, which is in 2 weeks from now. So let's go over the type of questions that are going to be asked for. Just give me a second. So I'm going to go through all the business cases. After the business cases, you can see each one's assigned 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We'll split the people in this chat today into the 6 groups. And then from there, each group will then decide how they want to split off the work. If someone wants to talk about the needs, someone wants to talk about the staffing or the resources, etc. I try to give some help in terms of helping you understand like the cost considerations of what you sort of need to develop it as well. So you won't be that alone interpreting this out. But again, each one, there's 6 business cases here that each team will need to be focusing on and developing on that proposal for next class. And you'll have 2 weeks to do. So case number 1 is an HR onboarding chatbot. So they're looking for HR fields a 25 plus repetitive increase per new hire, slowing onboarding. So there's certain 25 questions coming in that people ask about. And their policies are scattered across 150 words and PDF files, right? So they have Word and PDF files that have it, and managers demand 24/7 answers without extra HR headcount, right? So people are having issues getting onboarded because the managers don't know the answers to, and they're looking questions for policies. So these HR individuals need to go look at these policies and be able to answer them for them. So they want to do is they want to build a RAG chatbot. This one looks like it's on OpenAI, Azure OpenAI plus Cognitive Search. So again, whoever's on stop number 1, don't worry. If you don't know anything about Cognitive Search, don't worry about it. Just building out a conversational RAG chatbot in Azure using Azure OpenAI's LLM. They want to use GPT-4 to service policies and links in Teams. So they want this to be a chatbot integrated in their team site and tracks and resolve questions for continuous content gaps, right? So if there's something that can't get resolved, maybe a thumbs up and thumbs down part will happen, right? So again, what's the infrastructure? What's the timeline? They're looking for a 10-week development, right? How that's going to work, how that's going to develop from this, and what their expected benefits is for him. So here's some cost considerations, what they're looking at, 12,000 messages a month, etc. And I also put here maybe a full-time developer or a content owner could be helpful in this. So whoever's on team 1, this is sort of what your business case is going to be looking like in terms of what you need to be proposing and developing. Business case 2, IT ops incident / triage RAG agent. So they're monitoring stack fires, 15,000 alerts a day, 68% are noise, but still land on all call queues. Looking at a mean time resolution around 74 minutes, blah, blah, blah. So what's going to happen here? They're looking for an IT RAG agent that's going to help triage responses. So this one's a little bit more for understanding how you can really create a RAG agent, look at that triage area, what they're expected to do. This one's 11-week rollout. They want a RAG knowledge and base, and they want to see they can build an orchestrator. So again, this is something that they want for MVP. So maybe you don't have to do this on phase 1. You can say for this one, you can look at, okay, we'll do a RAG for phase 1. And then for phase 2, we can do a triage agent and Slack integration, right? So again, look at this very carefully and see what they're looking for and in terms of what's being asked in the business case and how you think you could roll this out. Looks like it's done. They're asking for Bedrock, right? So we know Bedrock is AWS, So looking at an AWS implementation and looking at how many requests are coming in per month. So 12 million requests are being per month. So again, estimate, you can do an estimate of 4 million tokens such an hour to the model, right? So, okay, 4 million tokens, how much is 4 million tokens on AWS? Any Bedrock model is. Try to look for the cheapest one and say, hey, if you use ChatGPT on GPT-4o if there's anything like that, how much would that cost, right? So again, you don't have to be an expert on AWS. Again, the point is just to build something that you could say, hey, we're thinking of building a triage RAG agent. This is how we think of proposing developing it. This is what we think the estimated cost would be, etc. This is the time that this is the people you need to staff it. So again, this is just giving you a quick basis of what can be built. Business case 3, compliance policy insight RAG. So risk team audits 80,000 policies, clauses quarterly, manual error prone, and there's going to be, these also there's some fines that rose, right? So if you're wrong in your policies, it costs them a lot of money, right? So they're looking to hope to do, look for things that can cause error, looking for anything that could be errors in their policies by using RAG. This one seems to be like a Databricks and Mosaic AI launch meal. So again, if you don't know anything about them, that's fine. The whole point of it is to say that you understand what technology stack that they're looking to be built on. This one's looking for a 14th implementation. They want to do a RAG prototype to pull information and also build an agent on it that scores, right? And have some dashboards going on it. So again, I put some cost considerations in here. Again, if you have any questions about that, don't worry about detailed that area, but I just want to understand how you think your team can then develop something to help build something out for this. Business case 4, a sales intelligent multi-agent pipeline. So reps juggle CRM, emails, and marketing feeds. Sometimes they miss upsell queues. Quarterly quota attains stuck at 62%. So they're not really moving from the quarterly quotas that they're having. So they're looking for a chain of agents to develop something which they can find something that has a lead enricher, intent detector, and deal coach, and pushes next best action to Salesforce. So this one, they're not really looking to build a RAG, right? It looks like they're looking to build agents. So you would have one agent that looks for leads, another agent that looks for detection, another one that looks for deals. So then you would calculate the cost per token to say, okay, to have something that looks through through all the CRMs, pull information that the new lead would come in. If there's an intent, the cost of looking at the intent, and then send it to the coach that will send an automated maybe an next best action deal into Salesforce, whatever it is they have, or it could be an email to them, right? So again, look at what's going on, looks at the expected benefits, forces. So if you don't know anything about Salesforce, that's fine. The whole point of it is to, again, build out that framework and think about how you can solve something like this as well. Okay, business case 5. Online technicians rely on 12,000 page manual fault diagnosis. Every minute of downtime costs 4,500, right? So there's some technicians that rely on operations, and they want to launch sort of a deployed RAG chatbot that's going to look over the informations and compare that to the ROI cost savings of 400, 500. So this one's pretty straightforward. I won't go deeper into that one. This one's an IT, last one is an IT service desk AI agent. So 60% of tickets are password resets or software install requests. So they're looking for a ServiceNow virtual agent that can help look at how to do this. Agent executes resets, installs to power automation actions, whatever it is. So again, they're looking here to do an agent that helps to do password resets or software install requests, right? So someone asks a question about password resets, an AI agent will be able to ask 2 questions to the user and then resets it for them and not have to wait till an IT person to do this themselves. So again, this will be an agent architecture for this, looking at Azure and Microsoft's service for this part, etc. And then go from there. So, okay, so I'll just ask some questions. Lisa, would each team be picking each of these business cases, or these are just samples, or expect to come up with their own? Or also today there are 18 people with split groups. So these groups will be, so these are the business cases that will be assigned to you, right? So you won't come up with your own. So these are the 6 business cases that will be assigned to the groups. Right now we have only 18 individuals. So that's fine. What's going to be happening is I may have to reach out to the team for those individuals who aren't here today. I think we're missing about 20 individuals that aren't here. We'll have them split into our groups of 6 for now. And then go from there, and then whoever's missing, we'll ask the group to put their names into whoever's missing not in the groups, and then whoever's missing we'll have to add randomly to each way. Okay. I'm not sure if Srinivas has the way to do this, but I don't have the way to split to random groups. Again, I understand there might be some preferences for each business cases, but again, you're gonna be split into groups of 6. So it's really supposed to help you step out of your comfort zone. Might have to think out of the box, and some people, and again, be able to work together, right? So and really for that way. And I'm here to support as well, right? So don't think you don't know what's going to happening. We have those office hours on Wednesdays. We have 2 weeks as well, so don't think you have to get everything done by next week as well. So again, have maybe assign 2 slides for each person in your group, and then ensure you meet together and get that done.
Luis, do you want to split the folks into groups right now?
Yes.
I see. I have not done this before. What is it? 6 groups? Say?
Yes, it would be about 6 groups.
Oh, just 3 people in each group? That would be too less, right?
Well, there's definitely people who are missing from today's class. We have usually around 36.
But we can have them separate groups later, right? So people who are missing.
Sudhir, as Luis said, right? We will be looking at the people who have not joined today, and we'll be randomly assigning them to the groups. Okay. So, Luis, did you share the business cases with everybody here? Not sure. So depending on the room number or breakout room number, you pick the appropriate business case. I'll be.
So I'm gonna just add the business cases before everyone jumps to the groups. If you just give me a second into the chat, so then they can just download this or I can put this. I wonder if I can put it on WhatsApp. Maybe I'll just put it on WhatsApp easier. So they don't lose it. Let me just go into the WhatsApp group. Yeah, it's fine. You can start building up the grass, and then I'll put it in the WhatsApp group so everyone knows that they can grab the slides from there.
I see. So I don't know of a way to exclude you, Luis. So
That's
you will
fine.
also be part of the group.
After you add me, you can just make me an admin, and then that way I can jump out and come back in.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Hey, Louis.
Hey, how's it going?
Going good. Sorry. I had to drop off in sorry. I had to drop off the last half an hour and I just
Um,
joined back. So I joined the room. I think they are waiting for the business case to be assigned. Or is the
so
instruction
it,
already shared?
so it's there's different rooms. Like if you're room 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that's your business case. So if you're room 2, then your business case 2. If you're
Okay.
yeah, if you're room 3 that way.
Okay.
So let
Can you
me
share the business cases that Miro, if I'm right? We did last time.
sorry, what's your question?
Um, where can I find the business case?
I put them in WhatsApp. So if you open WhatsApp,
Okay, got it.
um,
hmm Got
if
it.
you,
Yeah.
okay, perfect. They should be in there for everyone.
Okay.
I'm just waiting for them to give me admin. I can't. I wanted to jump into different rooms and talk, but they haven't assigned me admin yet. So just give me a second. I'll be there.
Oh, okay. I can tell Srinivas. Yeah.
Yeah, if you can tell them to give me
Mhm.
hosting capabilities, that'd be great.
Sure. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, this meeting is done, right?
Hey, hi. Is this breakout room 5?
No, this is the main room.
Oh, okay. I was actually in breakout room 5 and I got kicked out because of low connectivity.
Oh,
And yeah, you came. You came to
Okay.
the room. Let me call Lewis, and it's time. So
Okay. 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 If it is done,
sir,
Srinath, we
10
can
o'clock we
connect
can.
later. Okay.
yeah. So one sec. Hold on.
Is everybody going to come back to this room or the meeting is done for today?
It's almost. I thought Lewis is going to close it. That's why I came out. Mm, I'm messaging him.
Hello. I think we are done, right? Today's session.
Yeah, Lewis is going to close this in 2 minutes.
Okay. So you want to stay here?
I think it would be good to stay for a few more minutes to see what Lewis has to say before.
Okay. Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Works for me.
All right, thank you everyone for joining. Now we're at a time. People have to leave now. So I'll be available for the 2 office hours this next Wednesday and the following next Wednesday. So if any questions or you guys are stuck, just please let me know. I'll be working with the team in determining who else could be helping. So you can be part of joining your discussions from there. So hope you guys have a great week and I'll see you guys on Wednesday.
Lewis, did you take note of the rooms and the room? Who are the people?
Yep, I took a screenshot and I put it in the chat so we can take a look
Okay,
at
you
that.
may want to share it in WhatsApp group. That way,
Yeah,
everybody.
it's in the WhatsApp group. Yeah.
And by the way, Manoj or somebody is going to follow up. to put all those who did not join today, they will be assigned to one of these groups.
Awesome. All right.
All right. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Luis. Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Bye.
Thank you.